You're just a dreamer, Ethan. You'll never amount to anything real. My dad, Robert, said it with a laugh, a dismissive wave of his hand, right there at the Thanksgiving table. All 14 of them, crammed around a table meant for 8, their faces a blur of familiar judgment, joined in the snickers. And then, the doorbell rang. But to understand why that moment felt like a tidal wave crashing, you have to rewind a few hours. Back to the driveway of my childhood home in a quiet suburban neighborhood. Engine off, house lights glowing through the windshield, my wife Clara's hand on my knee. One disrespectful comment about you, she'd said, her eyes locked on mine. We handle it together. One direct disrespectful comment about me? We shut it down hard. If it continues, we leave. Immediately. She squeezed my knee, a single, firm press. I nodded. I get it. But you know them, they'll push. That's why we're leaving the second they cross that line, she countered, her voice unwavering. I looked at the house. 29 years of memories. Most of them a constant reminder that I'd never quite measure up. Same brick facade, same porch light, same sinking feeling in my gut every single time I pulled into this driveway. You sure about this? She smiled, that dangerous smile that meant she was ready for war. I'm sure. You deserve better than this. Let's see if they can behave like adults for 3 hours. We got out. The November air was cold enough to see our breath. Leaves crunched under our feet as I grabbed the bottle of wine I'd brought. $68. More than they'd ever spend, but they wouldn't notice. They never noticed the details when it came to me. The door opened before we even knocked. My mom, Sarah, stood there, apron on, flour on her hands. 54 years old, hair graying at the temples, eyes tired in a way that had nothing to do with cooking. Ethan, she hugged me quick, too quick, like she was afraid someone would see. Then to Clara, glad you could make it. Wouldn't miss it, I said, flat. She looked at me, really looked. Something passed across her face, worry, maybe? Or a warning. Her eyes flicked toward the dining room, then back to me, a tiny shake of her head. I knew exactly what that meant. She knew what was coming. She always knew. And she was asking me to just take it again. Her hand lingered on my arm for half a second. Not quite a grip, not quite letting go, like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words or the courage. Then she stepped back and let us in. The dining room was packed. My father, Robert, sat at the head like always. 57 years old, hands stained black from decades of engine grease and brake fluid, face hard. Robert Peterson, owner of Peterson Auto Group until 6 months ago when he sold out because the business was hemorrhaging money he didn't know how to stop. My brothers flanked him. Kevin on the left, 32, service manager at one of the shops. Loud, always had been. The kind of guy who thought volume equaled authority. Mark on the right, 30, regional supervisor. Quieter, slicker, he could get you with a smile and make it sound like he cared. Uncle David, Dad's younger brother, the only person in the family with a spine, sat near the end. He nodded at me, a small, knowing acknowledgement. Ethan, Dad said, not standing, not smiling, just pointing his fork at the empty chairs near the middle. You're late. We're exactly on time, I corrected. He grunted. This is Clara. You've met her 4 times. I pulled out Clara's chair. She sat. I sat beside her. Kevin grinned. Looking good, see. You finally get tired of this guy yet? Clara smiled. Sharp. Not yet. Mark leaned forward, all feigned concern. How's the job search going, Ethan? Any bites? I'm not job searching. Oh. He glanced at Kevin. I thought you were still doing that consultant thing. I am doing that consultant thing. Right. Right. He nodded slowly. We're just worried about you, man. That's not really stable work, is it? Everyone was watching. They'd start with soft prods, see if I'd defend myself. See if I'd crack. I just smiled, took a sip of water, and didn't answer. What I hadn't told them was that I'd spent the last 7 years building something from nothing. Started as an insurance fraud investigator, got good at spotting patterns. Started noticing corporate fraud that cost companies millions. Built a consulting firm. My first client paid me $1,200. I found $138,000 in fraudulent payouts in the first month. Word spread. Last year, I sold it to Sentinel Risk Solutions for $8.2 million. Then, I took a job as their chief risk officer instead. $3.5 million in equity. Corner office. Final say on every major fraud investigation in North America. Dad had no idea. They just knew I worked on a laptop, so it couldn't be real work. And I'd kept it that way. Kept it quiet because I knew this moment would come. The moment they'd pushed too far. The moment I'd finally be done. 3 months ago, I found out Sentinel had acquired Peterson Auto Group as part of a bulk portfolio purchase, which meant my father now worked for a company I had authority over. Richard Stone, Sentinel's CEO, was an old mentor from my early investigator days. We'd stayed close. When I mentioned the family situation over drinks, he offered to stop by if he was in town. Not to intervene, just to meet the people I kept describing. I didn't realize how useful his presence would be until that doorbell rang. Kevin was talking about his new truck, how he'd just bought a $52,000 pickup, how the payments were brutal but worth it, how real men drove real trucks. I drive a 9-year-old Civic, I deadpanned. Exactly. Kevin laughed. When are you gonna upgrade, man? You're almost 30. When I need to compensate for something, I'll let you know. Uncle David snorted into his drink, tried to cover it with a cough. Dad cut in, his voice sharp. That's your problem, Ethan. Always with the smart mouth. Never with the actual work. I looked at him. What work is that? Real work. He gestured at Kevin and Mark. Your brothers work real jobs. Management, leadership, responsibility. They're building something. But you just sit around investigating people who are probably innocent anyway. Insurance fraud costs the industry $40 billion a year, I stated. Someone has to find it. $40 billion? Mark repeated. Sure. And you're finding what? A few thousand here and there? More or less. See, that's the problem. Dad leaned back. No respect for blue-collar work. No understanding of what it takes to actually build something with your hands. You sold your hands, I said quietly. 6 months ago. Mom's knuckles went white around her fork. She set it down carefully, stood up like she was going to say something, then sat back down. The fight drained out of her before it even started. Dad's voice was tight. Because the market changed, not because I couldn't do the work. Right. Clara shifted beside me. I could feel the tension in her shoulders. She'd heard these conversations before, on the phone after Sunday dinners I'd stopped attending. Uncle David set down his fork loud enough that everyone heard it. Robert, maybe we should talk about something else. Why? Dad glared. I'm just trying to help the boy. He's 29, not a boy, and he doesn't need your help. David, Mom said quietly, her voice shaking just slightly. Please. I'm just saying. Uncle David looked at me, looked at Clara, then back at the table. This is the same conversation every time. Maybe it's time for a new approach. Dad's face went red. You want to talk about approaches? How about you stay out of how I handle my family? I'm family, too, Uncle David shot back. And I'm tired of watching this. Kevin laughed. Watching what? Dad giving Ethan some life advice? Advice? Uncle David repeated, his tone laced with sarcasm. That what we're calling it? What would you call it? Mark asked, ever the provocateur. Bullying disguised as motivation. Uncle David looked straight at Dad. You've been doing this to him since he was a kid. Moving the goalposts. Nothing he does is ever good enough because it's not what you did. That's enough, Dad snapped. Is it, though? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like the same pattern it's been for 20 years. Ethan does something. You tear it down. Your boys laugh. Everyone pretends it's normal. Clara was watching Uncle David like she'd found an ally. Kevin started to stand. You know what? I don't need this. Sit down. Dad barked. Kevin Saturday, listen, Mark tried his smooth voice. We're all family here. Let's just enjoy the meal. Then stop treating Ethan like a punchline, Uncle David said. He can take a joke, Dad insisted. Can he? Or is he just tired of defending himself to people who should be supporting him? I looked at Uncle David, really looked. He was the only one who'd ever done this, ever stood up and called it out. And I could see what it cost him. The way Dad was staring, the way Kevin and Mark were glaring, the way even Aunt Brenda was shaking her head. Uncle David was choosing integrity over peace, and they'd make him pay for it later. But right now, in this moment, he was the only real one in the room. The doorbell rang. Who's that? Dad asked. I invited some colleagues, I said, checking my watch. 7:03. Right on time. You invited who? People I work with. I stood. Hope that's okay, Mom. Of course, she said quickly, too quickly, like she was relieved. There's plenty of food. I walked to the door, opened it. Richard Stone stood on the porch in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Kevin's truck. 58 years old, silver hair, the kind of presence that made rooms go quiet. He carried a bottle of wine. Good evening, Ethan, Richard said warmly. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was worse than expected. No problem at all. Come in. I led him into the dining room. Every eye tracked him like he'd walked in from another dimension. Everyone, I announced. This is Richard Stone. He works with me at Sentinel Risk Solutions. Oh. Mom stood. Please, sit down. We have room. Richard extended his hand to me first, professional and warm, then to the table. Thanks for having me. Ethan mentioned this was a family tradition, and I happened to be in Chicago for meetings tomorrow. Didn't want to impose, but he insisted. He's the CEO of Sentinel Risk Solutions, I clarified to the table. Uncle David's fork clattered against his plate. Wait, Kevin said slowly. Sentinel Risk, that's the company that bought Peterson Auto. Correct, I confirmed. 6 months ago. $2.3 million acquisition, part of Sentinel's portfolio diversification into service industry assets. The color drained from Mark's face. Dad just sat there, fork frozen halfway to his mouth. Dad works for Sentinel now, I said conversationally. How's the new management treating you, by the way? Richard caught onto the temperature in the room. His expression shifted from friendly to something more observant, professional. Mr. Robert Peterson, he said, his voice neutral. I wasn't aware you were related to our chief risk officer. Ethan leads risk and compliance for Sentinel. He's a big reason our controls work the way they do. Dad's mouth opened, closed. No sound came out. Kevin looked like he wanted to disappear. Mark's face had gone completely pale. Uncle David was leaning back in his chair, almost smiling. Mark recovered first, his voice careful. Ethan, listen. We're family, right? You understand how business works. Clara's voice cut through, sharp. So, are you apologizing or negotiating? Mark stopped. What? Because it sounds like you're asking for favors instead of taking accountability. She leaned forward. We're done being your punching bag and your safety net. I looked at Mark, then at Kevin, then at Dad. No favors, no protection. Business is business. Family is family. And right now, I'm not sure which one you've been worse at. But your family, Kevin said, his voice desperate. That's right, Clara added, her hand finding mine under the table, one firm squeeze. Solidarity. And family doesn't spend 29 years tearing each other down. Tell me, Dad, I said quietly. What was that you said about real work? His mouth opened, closed. Still no sound. The man who always had something to say. Because I want to make sure I understand. My voice was steady, calm. Insurance fraud investigation isn't real work. Corporate risk management isn't valuable. But running an auto shop into the ground and selling it before the bottom fell out completely, that's honest labor? Ethan. Mom said quietly. No, Mom. I kept my eyes on Dad. You want to know why Peterson Auto was losing money? Sentinel does pre-acquisition audits on every portfolio company. Standard practice. Peterson Auto had compliance gaps. That's all I'm going to say at a dinner table. Kevin stood up, his voice loud. This is ridiculous. Sit down. Dad snapped. Kevin sat. Mom's eyes were filling with tears. She looked down at her plate. Oh, I said. You thought I didn't notice that Clara didn't notice? Kevin making jokes. Mark asking if she's tired of me yet. Dad not even looking at her when she speaks. You think that's normal? It's just joking around, Kevin insisted. Is it? Yeah, man, Mark added. Don't be so sensitive. Clara spoke up, her voice like steel. I've sat through 4 of these dinners. Every single one, someone makes a comment about Ethan being a dreamer, a charity case, not a real worker. Every single one, I watch you tear him down. And every single one, I say nothing because Ethan asked me to let him handle it. She looked at Dad, then Kevin, then Mark. But I'm done being quiet. You want to mock Ethan? Fine. He can handle himself. But don't pretend you're family while you do it. Kevin let out a nervous laugh. Who are you to tell us how family operates? I'm the person who's been documenting every single comment for the past year, Clara said, her eyes flashing. Dates, quotes, witnesses. Because I had a feeling we'd need it eventually. For what? Mark asked, suddenly uneasy. For when this stops being ignorable. Dad finally found his voice. Ethan, I think you're overreacting. Am I? I turned to Richard. How much did I make last year? Richard hesitated, then gave me a quick nod. Base salary, $215,000 with equity vesting. Total compensation just under $900,000. And the sale of my consulting firm? $8.2 million, Richard stated calmly. My current equity stake? $3.5 million at current valuation. Uncle David whistled low. Mom was staring at me, tears running down her face. Dad looked like he'd been hit with a truck. But you drive a Civic, Kevin whispered, bewildered. I don't need to prove anything with a car, I said. I rent because I travel 200 days a year. I don't have kids because Clara and I agreed to build our careers first. But none of that matters to you because I don't fit your definition of success. Mark stared at his plate. Kevin's face had gone red. Dad just sat there, smaller now, diminished. Clara, Kevin started. Don't, she said, sharp. Don't talk to me. Don't apologize to me. Don't try to smooth this over. You've shown us who you are for years. We believe you now. Aunt Brenda spoke up from down the table. Maybe we should all just calm down. Maybe you should mind your business, Uncle David shot back. This needed to happen 5 years ago. David, Mom said. Please. No, Sarah. He looked at her. You know this is wrong. You've always known. Mom looked down, didn't respond. Her hands were shaking. Richard stood. Ethan, I think we should go. Yeah. I stood, too, helping Clara with her chair. Mom, thanks for dinner. Everyone else, enjoy the rest of your evening. Wait. Dad stood, his voice desperate. Ethan, please. I didn't mean, yes, you did. I cut him off. You always mean it. That's the problem. You've spent my entire life making sure I knew I wasn't enough. That nothing I did would ever be as valuable as what you did. That I was a disappointment. I was trying to motivate you, he insisted. Motivate me? I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Dad, I sold a company for $8 million. I have decision-making authority over a portfolio worth $500 million. I make more in a year than you made in your entire career. But none of that matters because you decided when I was 12 that I'd never be a real man. Mark stood up. Ethan, come on. We're sorry. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry the CEO of my company is standing in this room watching you realize how wrong you've been. But you're not sorry for the years of mockery. Clara took my hand. We walked toward the door. Ethan. Mom's voice, broken. Please don't go. I looked back. She was standing now, tears streaming, hands shaking. You knew, I said quietly. Didn't you? You've known for months, since the acquisition. Since you saw the paperwork and realized what I'd built. And you said nothing. You let them keep tearing me down because you were afraid of him. I was trying to protect you, she whispered. From what? My own family? She flinched. Uncle David stood. Ethan. He paused. I'm sorry. I should have done more. Called it out sooner. But for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. What you built, who you are. Your father's a fool and your brothers are cowards. And you deserved better than this. Thanks, David. We walked out. Richard followed. Ethan, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was that bad. It's fine. It needed to happen. If there's anything I can do, just, if compliance finds issues at Peterson Auto, handle it through normal channels. I cut him off. No special treatment, no protection, just standard process. Understood. He got in his Mercedes, drove away. Clara and I sat in the Civic for a long minute. Engine running, heat starting to kick in. She looked at me. You okay? Yeah. I think I am. That was intense. That was overdue. Your mom knew for months apparently and said nothing. She was afraid, I said. Of him. Of losing her marriage. Of making waves. I get it. Do you? I thought about it. No, not really. But I understand the fear, even if I don't respect the choice. Fair. I looked at the house. Warm light glowed through the windows. I could see shapes moving inside. Probably Dad yelling. Probably Kevin and Mark defending themselves. Probably Uncle David telling them all exactly how they'd earned this. We drove home in silence. The calls started at 6 a.m. Dad, Kevin, Mark, Mom. I declined them all. Texts followed. Apologies that weren't apologies. Guilt dressed as concern. Mark tried going through Clara. She blocked him instantly. Uncle David texted, * there. Telling everyone you lost it. I'm setting the record straight, *** me? What did Dad say, *** I replied. * frankly, that I'm not welcome anymore. Told him good. Tired of pretending this is normal, ** Aunt Brenda left a voicemail about family being family. Deleted. Cousin Greg asked for $2,000. Blocked. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Dad, using Uncle David's phone. I hung up and blocked it, too. The harassment escalated fast. On Thursday, Kevin showed up at my office demanding to see me. Security removed him. That afternoon, Mark's wife ambushed Clara in her firm's parking lot. Clara recorded it, told her to stay away, and kept walking. Friday, 3 a.m., pounding on our apartment door. Kevin, drunk, shouting threats. We called 911. He was arrested. I pressed charges. Mom called the next morning. You got your brother arrested. Kevin got himself arrested, I corrected. He's struggling. Mark's struggling. Your father is barely functioning. That's on them, Mom. Not me. You could fix this. No, I can't and I won't. You're destroying this family. I didn't destroy anything. You all did that yourselves. I hung up. We filed for restraining orders. The process dragged for 3 weeks. During that time, they tried showing up twice more. Security removed them again. Mark sent so many messages from new numbers, I stopped counting. In early January, the orders were approved. 6 months, no contact, 500 feet. Then silence. Work steadied. I closed 2 major cases, saved clients millions, and got promoted to Executive Vice President of Risk and Compliance. Clara made partner. Life felt normal again. 3 weeks into the quiet, my assistant buzzed me. Compliance needs you. Peterson auto file. My stomach dropped. What did they find? Significant irregularities. They want your sign-off to escalate to legal. Exactly what I'd hoped wouldn't happen. Send it to Richard's office, I said. I'm recused. Family conflict. 2 days later, Richard called. Ethan. We need to talk about Peterson Auto. What did you find? Fraudulent billing, ghost employees, inflated parts charges. 18 months worth. Kevin and Mark are directly implicated. Your father, negligence, not intent. He paused. Recommendations? Terminations. Criminal referrals. Standard protocol. Then follow standard protocol. I'm recused. Already noted. I just wanted you to know. Thanks. After I hung up, I sat there staring at my desk. I hadn't touched the outcome. I'd only removed myself from influencing it. Whatever happened next was theirs, not mine. Clara called. Lunch can't work thing. You okay? No. I'll tell you tonight. That evening, I explained everything. She listened without interrupting. Finally, she said, You didn't do this. I know. They did. They committed fraud. They got caught. That's on them. I know, but what? You feel guilty? A little. Don't. She leaned closer. They spent years making you feel small. Now they're facing consequences for their decisions, and you want to rescue them? No, then don't. Let the process play out. She was right. I knew she was right. But they were still my family, and watching them implode hurt more than I expected. 2 weeks later, the termination letters went out. Kevin first. Mark, an hour after. Dad was demoted to lot supervisor with a performance plan. Asterisk Kevin, are you kidding me? Asterisk Mark, this is insane. Asterisk Dad, Ethan, what did you do? Asterisk I didn't respond. The restraining orders were still active. Uncle David texted, asterisk they're losing it, blaming you even though you recused yourself. Kevin's lawyer says he's facing charges. Mark's wife left him, asterisk the spiral hit fast. Kevin moved back in with my parents. Mark couldn't get hired anywhere. Dad went to work and came home in silence. For months passed that way. Quiet on their end, peaceful on mine. I got promoted again, expanding my role to global risk and compliance. Clara won a major case. We took a trip to Iceland, hiked, breathed, actually lived. The restraining orders expired in June. I didn't renew them. There was no reason to. They'd gone quiet. A week later, a handwritten envelope appeared in our mailbox. Mom's handwriting. Addressed to both of us. I opened it at the counter while Clara read over my shoulder. Ethan and Clara, asterisk I know I have no right to ask anything, but I'm asking for one thing, a conversation. I won't explain or defend myself. I only want to say I see the damage now, and I'm ashamed of my part in it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want the chance to apologize honestly in person, without minimizing anything. If you're willing, tell me when and where. If not, I understand, asterisk Mom. Clara set the letter down. She's not justifying anything. That's new. You want to meet her? I asked. Only if you're with me. Always. Then we set the terms. Public place, 1 hour. If she slips, we leave. Done. I texted Mom from a number she wouldn't recognize. Asterisk this is Ethan. Saturday, 2 p.m., coffee shop on 5th and Pine. 1 hour. No excuses. No justification, asterisk she replied almost immediately. Asterisk I'll be there. Thank you, asterisk Saturday. Clara and I arrived early. Corner table. Clear exits. Coffees untouched. Mom walked in exactly at 2, smaller than I remembered. Like she'd finally stopped pretending everything was fine. She sat without trying to hug either of us. I owe you an apology, she said to Clara first. I watched them treat you terribly, and I said nothing. I let them mock Ethan in front of you. I let them erase you. That was wrong. I'm sorry. Clara nodded but didn't speak. Then Mom turned to me. And I owe you honesty. She took a breath. When I married your father, I thought I could soften him. I couldn't. He hardened, and I adapted to survive him. When you were born, quiet, thoughtful, not like the others, he called it weakness. He said you needed toughening. I should have fought him. I didn't. She shook her head. I was raised to keep peace at any cost. A good wife doesn't contradict her husband. A good mother doesn't undermine the father. So, I stayed quiet. And the longer I stayed quiet, the easier it became. Clara watched her carefully. No sympathy yet, just measuring the truth. Mom continued, when I found out about your company, the sale, the success. I was proud. But I said nothing because I was afraid of what your father would do if he knew I knew first. I've lived 30 years managing his anger. I let that matter more than defending my son. Her voice wavered. I watched you walk into Thanksgiving knowing exactly how it would go. I didn't try to stop it. I didn't stand up when they mocked you or when they dismissed Clara. I just sat there pretending nothing was wrong because that's what I'd been doing for decades. She met my eyes. You were right, Ethan. I was a coward. She didn't look away. After you left, everything fell apart. Kevin lost his job and his marriage. Mark lost his reputation. Your father lost everything and still couldn't admit why. And I realized I helped create this. Not through action, but through silence. Clara finally asked, "Why now?" "Because I hit bottom," Mom said. "I left your father. I started therapy. I'm learning how to be someone different, someone honest. I'm not asking to undo anything. I just want the chance to be better than I was." I let the quiet settle. "What does better look like to you?" I asked. "A relationship I earn. Slowly, carefully. Maybe coffee once a month. Maybe nothing more. Your pace, not mine. And if you slip? Excuses, minimization, any of it? Then we're done. And I won't blame you." Clara looked at me. I gave her the choice. She nodded. "One condition," I said to Mom. "Anything. You tell Dad and the boys the truth. All of it. No softening. No protecting their feelings." She nodded immediately. "I will." "All right," I said. "One coffee next month, same place. We'll see where it goes." Relief and grief hit her at the same time. She didn't ask for a hug. Didn't push for more. "Thank you," she said simply. We spent the rest of the hour on small talk, work, travel, life. She didn't cry. She just stayed present. When time was up, she stood. "I'll see you next month." And she left without trying to make it more than it was. Clara and I walked to our car in silence, both of us knowing the same thing: this wasn't forgiveness. It was the first honest step she'd ever taken. Our second coffee happened in July. Then a third in August. Mom was different. Honest. No excuses. She talked about therapy, about recognizing patterns, about how she'd enabled Robert's behavior by staying silent. In October, Mom told me she'd confronted them. Robert yelled. Kevin called her a traitor. Mark cried. But she'd said everything she promised. "Kevin blamed you for ruining his life," she said. "I told him you didn't forge his signature on fake invoices. Mark said you could have protected him. I told him you recused yourself and that he should have thought about consequences before he committed fraud. How's Dad taking it?" "Not well. He's lost 20 pounds. Goes to work, comes home, sits in silence. I think he's finally realizing what he destroyed, but he's too proud to admit it out loud. Think he ever will? I don't know. Maybe. But that's his journey now, not mine." November came. 1 year since Thanksgiving. Uncle David called. "Kevin and Mark want to apologize to both of you." I talked to Clara. We agreed to one meeting. Public place, our terms. Saturday. Mark and Kevin showed up looking rough. Mark had lost weight. Kevin's eyes were bloodshot. They sat across from us at the same coffee shop. Mark spoke first, his voice shaking slightly. "I treated you both terribly. Made jokes about Ethan to make Dad laugh. Ignored Clara like she wasn't even there. Made you feel unwelcome in your own family. I did it because, he stopped, took a breath. Because it was easier than standing up to Dad. That was cowardice. I'm sorry. Kevin followed. Yeah, same. I was jealous of you. Of what you built. Of Clara. Of everything you had. So, I tore you down to make myself feel bigger. That was wrong. Clara watched them. Why are you sorry? Like, really? What changed? Mark's face went red. He started to speak, stopped, started again. Because I lost everything. My job, my wife, my reputation. And I realized none of it would have happened if I'd just been honest from the start. If I'd stood up for Ethan instead of piling on. If I'd done the right thing instead of the easy thing. Kevin nodded. I'm in therapy now. Court mandated. And my therapist asked me who I was angry at. I said, you. She asked why. And I realized I wasn't angry at you. I was angry at myself for not being you. Clara looked at me. I nodded. I don't forgive you, Clara said, her voice calm but firm. But I'll give you one chance. One dinner next month. You screw it up? We're done. You make one joke, one dismissive comment, one anything that reminds me of how you treated us before? And you never hear from us again. They nodded. Fair. They turned to me. I'm sorry, Mark said. For everything. For the Thanksgiving dinner. For not standing up when it mattered. Kevin's voice cracked. I'm sorry for being a coward. For being jealous. For making your life harder when I should have made it better. One dinner, I said. We'll see. The dinner happened at Mom's new apartment in December. Stilted at first, nobody knew quite what to say. But Mark asked real questions about my work. Kevin congratulated Clara on her promotion. Mom kept things on track. January. Dad showed up at Mom's apartment while we were having our monthly coffee. A soft knock. Mom froze. That's your father. How do you know? I know his knock. She opened the door with the chain still on. Dad stood there, older, smaller, like the year had hollowed him out. Gray hair, drawn face, shoulders dropped. Sarah, he rasped. Is Ethan here? He is. Can I talk to him? Mom looked back at me. I shook my head. He says no, Robert. Please. 5 minutes. I stood, walked to the door, chain still locked. What do you want to apologize for? You've had a year to apologize. You blamed me instead. I know I was wrong. You're still wrong. You're here because you bottomed out, not because you understand what you did. He swallowed. You're right. I don't know how to fix this. You can't fix it, I said. You can only decide whether you want to become someone worth reconciling with. How? That's your work, not mine. Ask Mom. She's doing it. Learn from her. She left me. Because you gave her no choice. He flinched. Dad, I said quietly. You spent my whole life telling me I wasn't enough. That real work meant your work. That success only counted if it matched your idea of it. You made me feel small. You made Clara feel invisible. You didn't lose your family. You drove them away. I was trying to toughen you up. No. You were trying to feel bigger by making me feel smaller. Silence. If you want any chance at rebuilding anything, here's what has to happen. 1. Real responsibility. No self-pity. 2. Apologize to Clara. Not me, her. 3. Stop blaming me for your son's choices. Kevin and Mark committed fraud. That's on them. You enabled them. That's on you. He stood there taking it. Really taking it for the first time in my life. If you can do those things, I said, and prove you're different when no one's watching, then maybe we talk. Until then, stay away from me and my wife. I closed the door. Mom wiped her eyes. That was hard to watch. It was necessary. Clara touched my shoulder. You okay? Yeah. I think I am. Dad didn't come back for 3 weeks. Mom called. He wants to apologize to Clara in person. I looked at Clara. Your call. Let him try. We met at a different coffee shop. Dad was already there. Clara sat across from him. His voice shook. I treated you terribly. I let my sons do worse. You deserved respect. I gave you none. I was threatened by Ethan's success. And you were part of that. It was cowardice. I'm ashamed. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to hear it. Clara held his gaze, nodded once, and stood. We left. In the car, she said, better than I expected. Yeah. Doesn't change anything. No, but it's a start. March, 16 months after that Thanksgiving. Mark found steady work. Kevin started teaching automotive skills to at-risk kids. Mom kept doing the work. Uncle David stayed David. Clara got promoted. So did I. Life steadied. And somewhere in that quiet, I realized something. I didn't need them to change for me to be okay. Their healing wasn't my responsibility. Mine was. For the first time, my worth wasn't tied to their approval or their apologies. That was freedom. In April, Dad sent a letter. Ethan, I finally understand what I did. I tried to make you into me, and when you became yourself, I punished you for it. I called it motivation. It was cruelty. I lost our relationship, my business, and my marriage because I was too proud to change. Your mother showed more courage than I ever have. I'm trying to be a different man, one who's proud of his son instead of threatened by him. I'm sorry for all of it. If there's a path forward, I'll walk it. Dad. Clara read it. You responding eventually? He needs time to prove it. Life went on. Work, friends, small joys. And with each ordinary day, reconciliation stopped feeling like a test I had to pass and started feeling like a choice I didn't have to hurry. I wasn't waiting for them to define me anymore. I had already built a life worth living with someone who loved me on my own terms, and that was enough. Have you ever had to choose between family and your own peace?